to his work, and occasionally a little knot of 3 or 4 schoolboys on a stolen bathing expedition rattle merrily over the pavement, their boisterous mirth contrasting forcibly with the demeanour of the little sweep, who, having knocked and rung till his arm aches, and being interdicted by a merciful legislature from endangering his lungs by calling out, sits patiently down on the doorstep until the housemaid may happen to awake. Covent Garden Market and the avenues leading to it are thronged with carts of all sorts, sizes, and descriptions, from the heavy lumbering waggon with its 4 stout horses to the jingling costermonger's cart with its consumptive donkey. The pavement is already strewed with decayed cabbage leaves, broken hay bands, and all the indescribable litter of a vegetable market. Men are shouting, carts backing, horses neighing, boys fighting, basket women talking, pie men expatiating on the excellence of their pastry, and donkeys braying. These and 100 other sounds form a compound discordant enough to a Londoner's ears, and remarkably disagreeable to those of country gentlemen who are sleeping at the hummums for the first time. Another hour passes away, and the day begins in good earnest. The servant of all work, who, under the plea of sleeping very soundly, has utterly disregarded Missis's ringing for half an hour previously, is warned by Master, whom Missis has sent up in his drapery to the landing-place for that purpose, that it's 6:30, whereupon she awakes all of a sudden with well-feigned astonishment, and goes downstairs very sulkily wishing, while she strikes a light, that the principle of spontaneous combustion would extend itself to coals and kitchen range. When the fire is lighted, she opens the street door to take in the milk, when, by the most singular coincidence in the world, she discovers that the servant next door has just taken in her milk too, and that Mr. Todd's young man over the way is, by an equally extraordinary chance, taking down his master's shutters. The inevitable consequence is that she just steps, milk-jug in hand, as far as next door, just to say good morning to Betsy Clark, and that Mr. Todd's young man just steps over the way to say good morning to both of them. And as the aforesaid Mr. Todd's young man is almost as good-looking and fascinating as the baker himself, the conversation quickly becomes very interesting, and probably would become more so if Betsy Clark's missus, who always will be a-following her about, didn't give an angry tap at her bedroom window, on which Mr. Todd's young man tries to whistle coolly as he goes back to his shop much faster than he came from it, and the 2 girls run back to their respective places and shut their street doors with surprising softness, each of them poking their heads out of the front parlour window a minute afterwards, however, ostensibly with the view of looking at the mail, which just then passes by, but really for the purpose of catching another glimpse of Mr. Todd's young man, who, being fond of males, but more of females, takes a short look at the males and a long look at the girls, much to the satisfaction of all parties concerned. The mail itself goes on to the coach office in due course, and the passengers who are going out by the early coach stare with astonishment at the passengers who are coming in by the early coach, who look blue and dismal, and are evidently under the influence of that odd feeling produced by travelling, which makes the events of yesterday morning seem as if they had happened at least 6 months ago, and induces people to wonder with considerable gravity whether the friends and relations they took leave of a fortnight before have altered much since they have left them. The coach office is all alive, and the coaches which are just going out are surrounded by the usual crowd of Jews and nondescripts who seem to consider, heaven knows why, that it is quite impossible any man can mount a coach without requiring at least 6 pennyworth of oranges, a penknife, a pocket-book, a last year's annual, a pencil case, a piece of sponge, and a small series of caricatures. Half an hour more, and the sun darts his bright rays cheerfully down the still half-empty streets, and shines with sufficient force to rouse the dismal laziness of the apprentice, who pauses every other minute from his task of sweeping out the shop and watering the pavement in front of it, to tell another apprentice, similarly employed, how hot it will be today, or to stand, with his right hand shading his eyes and his left resting on the broom, gazing at the Wonder, or the Tally-Ho, or the Nimrod, or some other fast coach, till it is out of sight, when he re-enters the shop, envying the passengers on the outside of the fast coach, and thinking